Hi, this is Gareth Jones, and this is Craig Saravalo. We are Sleep In Cinema, a internet radio station here in Birmingham, Alabama. That's on Substrate Radio. We also are rebroadcast on WBHM 106.1 The Hub. Our live show is on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, but you can hear us on WBHM on Saturdays from 11 a.m. and on Sundays at 2 a.m. So lots of ways to listen to us, but we're so excited because we're doing a series of interviews with directors from the Sidewalk Film Festival here in 2026. And we're extremely excited today because I know Craig and I both love this movie, Frogtown. We can't wait to talk to the director. So we've got Costa Corrales here joining us from Atlanta, and we're very excited to have you here. So thanks for being here, Costa.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you both for having me. Thanks for watching the movie. And it sounds like you liked it. That's great.
Oh,
That's always a bit,
yeah, that's
that's a great, that's a great thing to hear. This is the first, we haven't shown it too widely yet. So every reaction is still treasured,
oh,
definitely.
that's
So I
amazing.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, usually we like to ask the filmmakers, how did you come to this story? And this is an astonishing story, and it does reference. I think if people read the description, there's some things that talking about like Vernon, Florida, the Errol Morris documentary, but there's a lot more to it. And so I think we're both really curious to learn how you came to this specific story.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I think a lot of independent filmmaking is working with the creative limitations you have and working within the constraints that you have. So, you know, I I was dealing with this big personal, moral, philosophical debate about growing up and growing out of belief systems and wonder, and this is just sense of imagination. And so I wanted to make a movie. Of course, I had been making a lot of short films. I had been working on a lot of film and TV here in Atlanta, and I wanted to do my first feature. And so I wanted to pair those two things. This idea that I was struggling with, this concept, this theme of growing out of, you know, believing in wonderful things and strange things, and pair that with how can we make a movie feasibly for low budget with a small crew that doesn't feel it. Hopefully you're watching the movie and you're not thinking, they made this for no money at all. And so it was kind of a beautiful pairing between the two. And I love talking to people, as you all do as well. I love conducting interviews. I love being on the other side of them, or whatever, wherever, whichever seat I'm in. I like just talking to people. And so we went down to Marianna, Florida, which is not too far from where I went to school in Tallahassee. And we brought a bunch of classmates back together. We all went to FSU Film School together. And we just talked to people in town. That's how we started this movie. We just talked to people in town. I had a bunch of questions about, childhood, growing up, how you feel, reflecting on that. What are the strange things that you believe in that nobody else does? And from those initial interviews, talking to people, Frogtown grew into the movie that you see it as now. So we went out with a sense of discovery. I will say that the movie, we had intention, we knew what we were doing, but also so much of this was just approaching filmmaking with a child like mine and saying, well, each day is going to give us something new. And so when you say, how did the idea come to me? The answer is a little bit, varied, right? It comes in parts and it comes in pieces and it comes collaboratively, and it becomes, we had the nugget of the idea when we started, but now it's grown into something that it only could have become just through iteration and collaboration.
Fantastic. Well, obviously I referenced Errol Morris earlier, but it also reminded me a lot of his mentor Werner Herzog,
Yeah, yeah.
especially with this balance between non-actors, real documentary footage versus what could be narrative or nonfiction, or just this balance that you had. Could you talk a little bit about how you
Yeah,
decided to balance those two things?
definitely. So minor spoilers here for the movie. I think the only way to talk about this movie is to just talk about it. So we're
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
hold anything back. We won't keep it sacred. But so for people listening, the movie is a strange blend of fact and fiction, meant to make you question what's real and what's not, because that's the theme of the movie. That's what the characters are dealing with too. And we've always wanted that from the beginning. We wanted to do that. I think there's something really powerful. I love Werner Herzog's work so much, and I'm glad that you can see that coming through. Um, he talks sometimes I don't know if it was a speech or if it was an interview that he did, but he does talk about how, every documentary in a way is a presented falsehood of reality. I mean, it's impossible to fully capture reality, um, and every film is a fabrication of truth, and so, we wanted people to be questioning this. I want this discussion to go on. I think working with non-actors is incredible. It's so much fun. I mean, people. One of our leads in the movie is this younger girl, Ruby plays this girl in the movie. She's fantastic, fantastic, and this is her first on-screen role ever. And we auditioned over 100 kids for this role, talking to people, and when they're classically trained to be actors, and they're thinking so much about what they're doing, and there's so much self-reflection and so much of this self-improvement. It's this idea that, like, in order to really live in the moment and really capture a character on screen, you almost have to believe, that you are that person and not really think too hard about it. And especially for child actors, that can be very difficult because they're trying to monitor, what they're doing and everything. And they're trying to be so meticulous and precise. But I think working with non-actors, especially child non-actors, it's just wonderful because you don't really know what they're going to fully do when you give a note or how they're fully going to interpret it. It's dynamic and exciting, and it means that no two takes are exactly the same, and that just creates like a wonderful environment, and it just gives authenticity to the piece. So yeah, I really enjoy working with non-actors, and making people question just what is real, because when you watch a movie, you sort of enter this social contract with the filmmaker, which is that you're going to give them your attention for 90 minutes to sometimes more. And I like playing around with that a little bit and saying, hey, I don't want to tell you, what's true and what's not. Let's decide this together. So I hope the film leaves you with some healthy questions about that blend.
Absolutely. And I think Ruby reminded me also of another Florida film, the Florida Project, with that level of authenticity, that reality. Great.
Oh, well, it's funny is that I was telling Gareth after watching it that I didn't read the press kit, so I just hit play, and I was thinking, okay, well, this is going to be an interesting documentary about Florida, again, much like and as it went on, I was like, this is so odd that he found this story. And then I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna confess, it was not until the parade and the Frog King, I was like, oh my God, I've been duped this entire time.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping
it was
for.
The greatest surprise of any film that I've seen in a long time. That the authenticity of those of Ruby of the three main characters were so genuine. And even so much that the daughter looks like the mom. I mean, it's such I had complete buy-in in it. And you did. Film is a trick. It's a magic trick. No matter if it's a documentary, if it's a feature, if it's science fiction or whatever it might be, it's a magic trick just in its existence, I always think. And you pulled off such a wonderful trick in terms of blending reality with this narrative and sprinkling in the local folks that I'm assuming were legitimate interviews.
Yeah.
Where did you find the folks that weren't in the thread?
Sure. So that's where the real trick begins, and this is I'm glad you called it a trick. Someone said that earlier, and that's my favorite thing. I mean, because you're right, film is magic. It's light and sound being projected and played at the same time, and your brain, it's pictures, but actually your brain thinks it's video. So the whole thing is a big trick, and I love that. And so I'm glad that it worked for you. I know we're not going to get everybody, but I love it when it works. And so we gotten a lot of people. A lot of people. Well, no, it means you enjoyed the movie. You were present. You watched it. I'm very glad. I appreciate that. So like I mentioned a little bit earlier, but to clarify, so we went down. I knew that we wanted to do a story about some sort of mythic being that a woman believed in, and I wanted to follow her family. And we had that thread. That was the thread. But in order to make it feel authentic and place it in this time and this location, and understand how people act in the documentary setting, we went down to Mariana, to that town, and we interviewed all of those people first. So we did all of our real interviews first. We edited those down into what you see, and then I went back to Atlanta for a few months, about a month and a half, to rewrite the narrative thread to service those interstitials. So the movie itself is being created a little bit, and I give a lot of credit to our executive producer, Carson Tappan. He's the one who told us to do that. It was an amazing idea. We couldn't have done it without him. So lots of credit there. He was the one that was like, yeah, you have to totally, because we were going to film it the other way. We're going to do the narrative first, and it would not have been functional, really, truthfully. So that was a good realization. And yeah, that just clicked everything. I mean, once you talk to these people, there's a lot of interviews that we did. We as you know, you edit down so much. So we filmed this movie, all in all, for a 90-minute movie. We shot over 103 hours of footage, which is just so much. So you were watching, our ratio is you're watching about 1.5% of what we shot, which is, it's a significant ratio.
You can have a whole other feature in there somewhere.
We do. I mean, when we finished shooting it, my other producer, Evan, he was saying we should just turn it into a 10-part docu-series. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I have the heart to edit that. So we went down there, we talked to all these people. I think there's only 8 interviews that make it into the movie, but we talked to over 70 people. And a lot of those that didn't make it into the movie for whatever reason ended up sprinkled throughout in the dialogue, things people say in the narrative, or just little moments or little inserts or things like that. So, I'm not from that town of Marietta, but my producer, Evan, is. He was born and raised there. And so he knows everybody. And
oh, wow.
I got to live there for a few months that year while we were shooting it, and I really get to know the place, I feel like. And I had been a native of North Florida for 4 years before then, so I knew the area very well.
Right.
And that's why I think the authenticity comes through, is that we spent the time there, and we knew the people, and then we built everything around that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so, the South is just magical realism anyway. Like it's a breeding ground for it. I don't know, being from the South, it's so easy to buy that in to go, oh, of course there's a legend about a frog king. Of course. So that's why my eyebrow didn't get raised. I'm like, well, this makes total sense, just growing up here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of like Beasts of the Southern Wild, like that kind of thing, or George Washington, like the David Gordon Green.
I love that movie. I love that movie so much.
Getting these performances out of kid actors, like you said earlier, is just, it was just great. And I won't gush more about it, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I'm going to bring in one other reference, and I'm just curious if this was on your brain as you were thinking about some of this, but I teach a film called The South on Film, and we watched a film called The Legend of Boggy Creek. And since yours is about a cryptid, that's about another creature, and they interviewed people who had actually seen and experienced this creature, and it's seen as sometimes exploitative of the people in it, but at the same time, there's a love there. And that's another thing that I think you have this balance of, there could be some exploitation in the cryptid world of people who believe these things, but I think you had this genuine respect for these people that I really enjoyed, and I just wanted to mention that. I'm not sure if Legend of Boggy Creek was even on your radar, but
unfortunately, this is the first I've heard of it, but I'm going to look it up after this. I am always fascinated by that. I think I haven't seen Boggy Creek, but it sounds to me like one of my favorite sequences in film is the first 5 minutes of the original Blair Witch movie, which feels maybe similar, where we're talking to these locals, and they're setting it up so beautifully. It's just you are so primed to believe what you're about to see, even though that's a fabrication. Well, thank you. Well, we're doing it maybe a little more heartfelt, a little less scary, but I think. So Boggy Creek, if they're talking to real people, there's something when you see somebody who believes in what they're saying, right? You can really tell. Yeah. And so I think that's probably why Boggy Creek works, and that's hopefully why this movie works a little bit. But yeah, we wanted to create a new mythology around something new. Everybody already has an opinion on ghosts or Bigfoot or UFOs or something. So we needed to have some sort of new story that was familiar but fresh enough for you to maybe hold your disbelief for a moment, right? Because I think if this was a Bigfoot movie, it's you, like, from the very beginning, you already have an opinion, you already
Right.
have established that, and it's hard to get you to doubt what's real and what's not when you're so familiar with it. So that's the direction we went in. And you're right. I think that the South is so biodiverse and so strange. And, when you walk out your backyard, I grew up in Florida. I was in like kind of central Florida area, but still, we would go fishing and you'd see these little fish in the pond and you'd see these really big ones. And you go, where did that come from? We're in the middle of nowhere. There's no river into this pond. It's astonishing. And
It's
so
beautiful. Everything looks big when you're 6. What a wonderful yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the crux of the movie. That's what it's all about, and I think for me, people listening right now, they haven't seen it, so they don't understand the full context. Hopefully you come out and see it. We would love for you to come out and see it.
Absolutely. That's
but
the goal.
that is definitely the goal. But without giving too much away, I will say that was the big realization that pushed me into making this movie. Was I revisited some places recently in the past couple of years that I had played in as a child. And when you're a kid and you're running around a backyard, it is kind of like, it's beautiful and expansive, and that there's a region over there and there's an entire different kingdom over there, and that tree is a sacred tree, whatever, all these things. You create these narratives and these fairy tales that you have with your siblings or your friends. And then you go back a few years later, for me, a few decades later, you go back and you look at it and you go, oh, it's much smaller than I remember.
Yeah.
And at first that made me sad, but now I think I realize it's kind of just because I got bigger. I physically got bigger and my mind changed. The world got wider. So, the movie hopefully inspires that line of thinking in people, and it's supposed to maybe be a little more melancholy than it is. Well, maybe bittersweet more than melancholy. Just this idea that, those memories are good. And, can't live in them forever, but they're very good.
But the memory of your film is excellent for both of us. So we want to thank you again for making it.
Yeah, I wish we had more time. I kind of want to talk to you about this for like 3 hours.
Sure. Well, you guys will both be at Sidewalk. Maybe we'll talk then. I'd love to meet up.
Yeah. So
I'll be there. I'll be there with the DP of the film, Chris Violet, and we'll be talking to everybody after it shows.
Yeah. Well, we'll find you and talk to you about it.
Please do.
More.
Please do. I'm excited. This is Frogtown. This is my first Sidewalk. I've heard it's amazing, so I'm very excited.
You're gonna have a great time.
You're gonna have a really good time.
So we're excited. Well, thanks again.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course.